Late at night, I first saw some faintest allusion to pink through my camera. Since evening, I was keeping an eye on the spectacle, but moon was looking anything but pink. I already knew that it was not even supposed to look visibly pink, especially when recorded from urban area with light and air pollution, and color of this moon was not the deciding factor behind its name to start with. Still, it feels odd to see pink moon white, bluish, or orange, as if someone up there is pulling an astronomical prank with you, as if April's full moon came to me to say April Fool. But as the night got darker, other hues vanished and I noticed the first real semblance with baby pink color. I was even more thrilled when a bird flew by with the moon in the backdrop. I have seen such footages before with professional astrophotographers who spend hours in the outskirts nearby a mountain to capture such lucky moment. Of course, they typically have much better outcome with sophisticated devices, but I was excited nevertheless with what just happened. And with that bird, my mind also flew back to a time when I used to have unspoken strange thoughts. Very strange. What you are waiting for, Commander? It's time to wave the US flag from here for Earthlings to see. Well, I'm confused, Edwin. Which moon is this? I mean, did we land on Strawberry Moon, Wolf Moon, Buck Moon? What? Commander Neil, I think this should be Blue Moon. Look, the blue earth cast a perfectly blue highlight, and we are also looking quite blue, with oxygen reserves and backpacks running out. Hence, this should be Blue Moon. Do you think that's how seasonal full moon names got created? Nah, you are all smart. This was how I used to imagine in my childhood when I first heard the term Blue Moon. Why it wasn't green moon, yellow? Why blue got so much precedence in the visible light spectrum? I used to think all of this and couldn't ask anyone. Those were the time when internet was not around to trend with all latest happenings. Influencers were not around with easily accessible information and misinformation. And unless related books were present at home or elders around could provide satisfying answer, many things would remain unknown to the point of forgetfulness. And then, when I first heard about pink moon, I wondered about the naming convention because I have never seen a moon pink. Do they really calculate chromaticity and luminescence of the moon and decide its color? How does it change with seasons? I thought after growing up a bit. I am making this video for anyone who is interested to know what I didn't know then. For optimal viewing of the pink moon, I recommend you to find a spot with minimal light pollution and with a clear view of the sky. You can also keep an eye out for Venus and Mars as they are out and faintly close to the moon in the night sky. Hoping to snap a few good photographs of this full moon? My video on Wolf Moon has some helpful tips. Now, if anyone imagines that by pink moon they are going to see such a sight in night sky, they will be sorely disappointed. In fact, the moon will not look bright pink from anywhere as shown in many such AI-generated images floating overnight. Usually, you may not even get a hint of pink and can mostly see shades of orange. I added hues of pink in my clips during editing for the effect. That's not the color I have seen or my camera captured. Moon looks in different hues because particles in the atmosphere are scattering the light from the full moon, filtering out the cooler colors and just leaving those bold oranges, reds and pinks. since humans first looked up at the sky, they have been fascinated by Earth's moon and other celestial objects. And naturally so, because predictions of the moon's movement across the sky were important for things like hunting, harvesting, and traveling in the absence of artificial lighting. Different cultures around the world started having different names for the full moons long before any almanac started publishing name lists. The Marine Farmer's Almanac began publishing full moon names in the 1930s, which is when the name pink moon entered a wider cultural vernacular. Traditionally, each full moon name was applied to the entire lunar month in which it occurred, not only to the full moon. As much as I wish this name had to do with straightforward moon's color or has some kind of scientific reason behind it, the reality is April's full moon often corresponds with the early springtime blooms of a certain wildflower native to the eastern North America, Phlox subulata, commonly called creeping phlox or moss phlox, which also went by the name moss pink. Native American tribes are thought to have named it after the moss pink wildflower, which blooms in shades of dusty pink and often attracts butterflies that herald spring's arrival, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac. That raised a question in my mind: why we have stopped spinning such word of the mouth, out of someone's imagination ideas and stories? Why not look for something closer to the home, and why we settle for an old story? Can't we create something newer, more fascinating names for posterity to remember, wonder, and get amused? For example, Bangalore gets its famed neotropical pink trumpets in full glory in late March and early April. It has received so much widespread interest this year that Karnataka Tourism Department's official Twitter handle also flaunted the city wrapped by gorgeous pink carpet. They look stunning, and frankly, if the road is not dug up and littered as most of the Bangalore roads are these days, you may feel like you had got transported to some exotic locations for a moment. I'm lucky to have my home surrounded with this species this time. Tabebuia avellanedae tree or pink trumpet's large globous pink and often sparse canopy as if comes to comfort people after barren winter before summer hits. Apparently, British brought these ornamental flowers suitable for tropical and subtropical climate to Bangalore to enhance its colonial aesthetics. Then an Indian forest official and conservationist, Shethuram Gopalrao Nenginhal, planted them as avenue trees in the 1980s. Now people often confuse Tabebuia rosea with pink trumpet. That's because Tabebuia avellanedae or real pink trumpet has two close cousins, the Tabebuia rosea and the Tabebuia argentea, and they also burst into flamboyant pink bloom around early spring in Bangalore. Of course, you can easily shrug and say what's in a name by looking at any of these beauties. Another unsolved mystery. But there's nothing strange about why British got the plant here. However, I feel other than adorning the city in colonial era, the British perhaps planted these trees in those parts of Bangalore they lived in to remind them of the charm of spring back home, or maybe to create an illusion of comfort that they were actually at home. After all, when one catches a glimpse of the blooming pink trumpet trees from a distance, it is easy to imagine that they are original cherry blossoms. So why shall we not start calling it Pink Trumpet Moon to add layers as part of the historical evolution of human society's collective selenophilia? April's full moon is also called as a breaking ice moon by Native American tribes as the spring thaws and returns to growth. Frog moon, as April is the month when frogs are first heard after winter. So why can't we also think about the fact that April is the last month when elephants in India typically congregate in highest densities in wild to browse plants? With the onset of rainfall in May, they get dispersed largely into the tall grass forest to feed on fresh grasses. Another reason for us to add the word trumpet. Generally, I'm not in favor of changing names that stood the test of time. But once in a blue moon, pun very much intended, I feel that without tarnishing the original, name should evolve if that correctly represents the historical progression of how humans connected with an event. So by localization, I remotely don't mean politically or regionally driven monikers, but something that different societies can relate to more. What do you think? Shall we adhere to the age-old naming convention propagated by prominent North American tribes and stick to the kind of names which might not be globally relevant these days but used widespread as lapped up by NASA by virtue of it being an United States government agency? Or shall we induce local flavors? Please comment below, and if you have better recommendation for name, don't forget to add that too. And yeah, here's a link to my website, which has not been updated for a long time, but I do have some plans around it. For those who haven't read my articles yet, you can actually check it out right now. There are, blogs written on many interesting topics. For those who have already, exhausted the content that's available there, I would like to let you know that I am planning, but just due to sheer paucity of time, it was not possible. Anyway, I believe that too thin a world is a symptom of some incurable disease. So till the next time, take care and enjoy some moderated lunacy.